Hello, YouTube viewers, and welcome to my channel. What Shame Gang? Gang, gang, gang. Don't ask me where that came from. I just wanted to do something unique. And add a little tune to the channel. But anyways, don't bad me. So this is my second video. And in this video, I'm just going to give you all a little insight on me, who I am, what I came from, what I've been through, and how I got to where I am today. By the way, ain't gonna be no real big vocabulary words on this channel. Here and there, maybe, but I'm not gonna act like I got a PhD and I'm just so intelligent. Quite frankly, I don't even like reading. But when I know how to be intelligent, sound intelligent, I know how. Okay? So, don't think it's gonna be like, no. I'm gonna keep it real simple. Keep it cute. Anyways, so I was born prematurely at 7 months, and I was born at home. My mom at the time was using drugs, and she thought that she had to use the bathroom and do the number two, of course. And it was me coming into the world. And she gave labor on the toilet without even knowing that it was me. She thought she had to use the bathroom real bad, but like I said, it was labor pains. And she pushed and I came out and she caught me right before I hit the toilet. So I'm a toilet baby. Yeah, my sister and brother used to make jokes about that for years, But anyways, so moving on. Growing up, we were poor. I just remember being like house to house, unstable, not really having no set place to stay. At the time, my mom was between my dad and my sister and brother's father, which they share a dad. I'm the middle child. I have my own dad. So she's between the both of them, playing them. I remember, like I said, being from house to house, one apartment to another apartment. We never really stuck to like one place. I also remember being in and out of shelters. I never forget this one horror story where we were staying in the shelter and it was some type of holiday going on, and somebody had set the garbage can on fire with some fireworks, and the back of the shelter caught fire. The back of the shelter caught fire, and we ended up having to vacate the shelter in the middle of the night and stand in the cold. And when I tell you it was freezing, it was so freezing, I will never forget that story. So anyways, so that was that. And then I remember us always going to food banks, us not really having food. Like, I used to make stuff up with the little stuff we did have in the pantry. I witnessed my mom get abused, whether she was the one fighting and then she ended up getting beat in return. I just remember like physical abuse, verbal abuse, and things like that. I was introduced to that at an early age. I also was molested by a grown man. I can't remember the age, but it was between the ages of 7 and 9, whichever in between there. I can't remember how old I was, but it was between that age. And I just remember like sometimes when we had nowhere to stay, we would stay in motels for long periods of times. And that's when I was introduced to, well, as far as I can remember, I believe that's when I was introduced to porn. So, nasty movies, which I had to be about 7, same age group, 7 to 9. So, I never forget my mom. She had left to go run errands. She went to run somewhere, and we was left there by ourselves, and we was like flicking through the channel, and then boom, there it was. How the motels got the little nasty channel, and we just sat there and watched it. And then that's, like I said, how I got into being exposed to nasty movies. So going to school, like me and my sister, we used to have to share clothes. She's bigger than me, of course, and older than me. So most times my clothes will be like too big, or sometimes even too small if I grew out of it and my mom couldn't get no more clothes at that time, or she wasn't able to get anything free for us. And I just remember like wearing shoes that was too big to school sometimes. And I used to get teased here and there, or whatever, but not so much. And I just remember all that stuff. All of it was traumatic. Um, what else? Oh, also too, I was, like I said, I was molested at a young age, and I was also introduced to juicing family members. So we're not gonna act like we ain't been introduced to that, because it's very common. Sad to say, it's very common. That's why you need to watch who you have around your kids. That's why I'm very mindful of who I allow to be around my son, because you never know. It was cousins that was older on another side of the family that introduced, you know, us into that. I don't want to include other people, but it is what it is. But I was introduced to that. So then when I started getting up in age, like second, third grade, all of that, when I would go to school and I would have like a crush on a boy, or the boy would have a crush on me, I was already like up on the fondling and the touching, the inappropriate areas and stuff like that. And I'll never forget, I used to like this one boy that was my boyfriend. I think I was about second or third grade, and this was actually about that age, 7, 9. And I'll never forget, like I used to like play footsie, put my foot in the chair and like kind of like rub his little Peter Weeder. It was bad. It was bad. Listen, at the end of the day, I was younger then, and like I said, you'll be surprised how common it is. It is what it is. I'm not ashamed. That's in the past. I was introduced to that stuff. My man was perverted at an early age, and I just thank God that it didn't go further into my adulthood, because I could be far way worse than what I was. But like I said, to God be the glory. No judgment zone here. So, um, my mom passed away when I was 11. She suffered from lupus and a few other things, but for her not taking care of herself the way that she was supposed to, it ended up making things worse. So she lost a kidney before she passed away. She died at the age of 32. Her funeral was on her birthday, where she turned 33. So she died at an early age. Yeah, she didn't take care of herself. She was dealing with, some pain. And, lupus can also mess with you mentally. So she was kind of like in and out. Some days she was in a good mood. Some days she wasn't. One day she was in a wheelchair. Another day she wasn't. She also, right before she passed away, she started to have bloody bowels. And she started to throw up blood. Like, I don't know how far along. I think it was like a few months before she passed, or a month before she passed, maybe even a few weeks. At the time, I was 11, so I can't really, interpret or explain, because I was young, and I was still like, trying to figure out what was going on. I just knew she was sick. She didn't feel good. But right before she passed away, she was like in the pens, and I remember I used to change her Pampers, and I used to help her take baths. Like, I used to go with her to dialysis. Like, I was just always by her side, because I just always wanted her to be better. I just always wanted to see her feel good. And like, sometimes I would get like in my feelings and be like, I don't want to go with you, or I'm tired of going to the doctor with you. Like, when I would get mad because stuff didn't go my way, I would say stuff to like kind of hurt her feelings or whatever. And yeah, I really don't like talking about it, because when I go into detail, I get like I'm emotional to the point where I want to cry. no matter how old I get. It's very traumatic growing up and watching your mother or a parent in general, just somebody that you love, but your mother just suffer. Like she literally suffered from as long as I can remember to the time that she passed away. And no matter what we went through, no matter what circumstance we was in, it was a pride thing. But I know she loved us. But I know it was more so pride. She took us through everything that she went through. She didn't throw us off on nobody. We didn't go to the system. Now when she used to get into things and then it got to the point where the police got involved and then my grandma and them had to come get me for a few days or come get me and my siblings for a few days. That's different. But like she took us through everything with her. Like I remember being in crack houses with her. Everything. Like I didn't witness everything, and I believe that that's why I am the way I am today, why I'm so strong and so resilient, and why I just refuse to fail my child, like to put him through any of that. Like, you know, my mom, she used, and she was a functional when it wasn't like she was like super like hand strung out. She had her moments, but like it's like she would drink and she smoked cigarettes and stuff like that. But seeing those things just it just made me hate it. And I just promised myself like whenever I got old enough, I would never do those things. I don't want to smoke, I don't want to drink, I don't want to do no type of drugs. And that's why I am the way I am today. Watching that stuff, it just like really like I just used to tell my mom all the time, like, can you just stop smoking this or stop, don't drink. And she just, I just know that how she took better care of herself, she possibly would still be here today. She would still be here today. Like, I thought my mom was like a superhero. Like, one moment she's sick, the next moment she not. One moment she's sick, the next moment she not. And just to see that, like, she was so strong to me. Like, when my mom did pass away, I never forget. She had disappeared for a few days before she died. She disappeared. Kind of found out she was with my sibling's dad for a few days. But when she came back, she was in the hallway naked of my grandmother's building. And my great grandmother stayed on the third floor. So my grandma, which is her mom, was mad at her at the time. My great grandma took her upstairs and she kind of like cleaned her up or whatever. So when I went upstairs, I just remember saying to her, like, where were you? And she told me that she was gone for a few days or whatever she had said. I don't remember because this was in 2000, it's 2020. But I remember telling her that I was mad at her. And I didn't want to give her a hug or a kiss. She asked me to give her a hug and she told me she loved me. And I never forget, I walked out and I didn't say nothing. And one of my aunties came and got me and my brother and sister. And a few days later, we was over there and she just broke down crying. And we like, what's wrong? We playing being kids. And that's when she like pulled us to the side and was just like, my mom was in a hospital bleeding from the brain. So, I'm like, I went in the bathroom and I was crying. I started praying and stuff. And I remember us going to the hospital because she was in UIC hospital. It's in Chicago for those of y'all who not from here. So when we got there, she was like in a coma, and they had tubes like all in her mouth, tape, her mouth all like this. Like I never forget the vision. They had tape all over her face, like she wasn't even a human. And they called us to the hospital so they could pull the plug. They pulled it at noon on September 3rd. And I remember like everybody was just standing around the bed, and like I was always the one trying to be strong because, like I said, I used to be with her at all her appointments, her dialysis. I used to change her bloody Pampers, everything, you know. And I remember standing over the bed. I was standing over her, and I wanted to open her eyelids, but at the time, Crossroad had just came out, back Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, and I never forget that scene when the Grand Reaper touched that old man head in the rocket chair, and his ass turned black. Or the man with the cane. Y'all know what scene I'm talking about in Crossroad. Meet me at the crossroads. So I wanted to open her eyelids, but for whatever reason, I thought that they were going to be black like in the video, and I didn't want to be traumatized from that. So anyways, I remember laying my head on her chest when they pulled the plug, and I could still feel her heart beating. And I just get up and I said, look, y'all, she's still alive. She not dead. Her heart beating. Her heart beating. And everybody around the room just started crying, looking like she gone. And I was just like, no, her heart is still beating. So I cry about it to this day because for years I didn't realize why I was so angry. And I finally came to realization that it's because I felt like I couldn't forgive myself because before she died, I was mad at her. I didn't tell her she loved me when she said it back. I didn't say I love you back. I was so mad at her because she disappeared. And that was literally the last time I seen my mama. And I never got a chance to tell her I love her. I never got a chance to hug her, nothing. So every time I think about it, I'm still hurt to this day. And that was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. So, and every time I see somebody disrespecting their mama, because I used to say hateful stuff underneath my breath, like, oh, I wish she died. You know how you is as a kid. I wish my mama died. I hate her when they disciplining us, or you know, holding us accountable as kids. We say some hateful stuff, like underneath our breath or behind their backs, and not even realizing if they was to ever die one day, like how that would like crush us. And it crushed me for years. Like when I tell you, my mom did the best she could, but she didn't really show us love because she was hurting. So I didn't know how to love because I didn't receive real love. You know what I mean? I received the defective side of it. Like she was hurting. You know what I mean? She was hurting. And like before my mom passed away, even when she passed away, when I would go through stuff, like she used to teach us about God and try to, you know, have Bible study. We went to church. I was in the choir at a young age, you know, all of that. Like she introduced us to Jesus Christ. But the things that we went through, I started growing resentment towards God at a young age because I didn't understand. And I'm just like, you know, God, like I never forget one day we didn't have no food or nothing. And it was just like, I don't know, I was just tired of going through like struggling as a kid. And I was the kid. I wasn't even the adult. So I didn't even see firsthand what my mom had to go through, what she had to experience. But I seen what other kids had and what other, you know, and I just was like, I never forget, I looked up at the ceiling and I was just like, God, I hate you. I hate you. If you're real, why are we going through this? Why am I going through this? Like, why is my mom sick? Why is this? I never forget that. I used to have my moments when I would do that, and Lord forgive me because I didn't understand. I really didn't. But sorry, I didn't get into that story and get all emotional and stuff. But yeah, I just tell people, you know, my mom may wasn't the best be due to her circumstances, but I know for a fact that she loved me. She may didn't know how to express it right because she wasn't loved right. It's a cycle. You know what I'm saying? It's a cycle. She had trauma and she grew up with the trauma, had kids, kind of trickled that trauma off into her own kids. And even me, like I have to catch myself sometimes with my own child, you know, with things that I go through. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they don't ask to be here. And you got to love them the best way that you can. You have to love them as you want to be loved. You know, because if you don't, then they're going to grow up just as damaged as you. And you don't want no damaged child, you know. That's all that damaged adults are, damaged children that grew up into damaged adults, you know. And most times they become a product of their environment by the grace of God. I didn't as far as the drugs go, you know what I'm saying? But I went through my stages where I was kind of promiscuous or, you know, sleeping here and, you know, just like thinking I can get love by what I could do with what's in between my legs. Like, you know, I went through all of that. So anyways, after my mom passed away, and again, these little specks that I'm saying in between, I'll have other videos where I touch like on when I was molested or, you know, whatever the case may be, different relationships I done been through, situationships, you know what I'm saying, and all of that. But when my mom passed away, it was like a battle between my dad and my grandma. My dad ended up getting custody of me, and I'm not gonna lie, growing up, I thought for some reason that the grass was greener over there with my dad, because of course when the father's not in the home and you're not seeing him often, every little chance you get to see him, you just kind of like, Daddy, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why kids praise daddies, but half the time they don't be on anything. And that's just the child, you know, seeking to fill that void. That's all. And they just, you know, kids gonna love their parents regardless of the flaws that they have and regardless of how they treat them and what they do. That's just kids. You know, they just got that unconditional love about them, you know, until they grow up into damaged adults. But anyways, so I went with my dad, and I just knew when I got over there, I was going to have everything. You know, I ain't got to be poor no more. I'm going to be able to get whatever shoes I want. All of that wasn't the case. Dad, I love you. I don't even call him Dad. James, I love you. So don't take it personal. But growing up, I got with him when I was 12, going on 13. My mom passed away when I was 11, like a few months after my birthday. So when I went with him, I just knew, like I said, I was just going to get any and everything. Grass going to be greener. No, my dad is cheap. And half the time, he didn't want to buy nothing. And if he did, it was the cheap stuff. I couldn't get what all the cool kids had. I had to work my way up there. So anyways, he was married at the time. And me and his wife did not get along. Me and my stepmother did not get along. I felt like she was against me. Like I said, I already had this chip on my shoulder. I'm already damaged and hurt. Nobody understands what I've been through. Nobody understands that I'm hurting because my mom is gone. And it was just like when I came into the picture with him, his wife, and her kids, everybody owed me something. Just being honest. Everybody owed me something. The world owed me something. Like, I've been through it. I don't deserve this. Who gonna show me, like, who gonna treat me right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just was so damaged, so scarred. So, boom. From there, I became rebellious. Like, I felt like my dad, like, he was praising his wife, which he was. He was. His nose was far up that booty. And I felt like she didn't like me. I felt like she was always trying to pick with me and get me in trouble or whatever the case may be. I was talking about how my mouth smart, like her mouth wasn't smart. Because it was. It is what it is. We grown now. We already talked about this, nipped it in the bud and all of that. But I'm just telling y'all what my thoughts were then. So, anyways, I just always walked around there with an attitude because it wasn't what I thought, and I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to go back with my brother and sister. But then eventually my sister started coming over there, and then my brother moved out of the state with my auntie, and then we were all split up. But then my sister, I was still seeing her, but my brother, like I said, he was in another state. So, boom. Once I got to my new school, I was going to a charter school at the time, and I started having friends that were sexually active. Now, mind you, I was introduced to perversion at an early age, the nasty movies, all of that. I even masturbated at an early age. I don't remember how early, but I had the urges down there that I have as an adult at an early age because, like I said, I was fondled with and I was introduced to it at an early age. I don't know how young. I don't know. I possibly could have been introduced to it before my knowing of getting molested. But as far as I could remember, it started a little bit before I got molested because, like I said, it was with some older cousins on another side of the family, and I can't remember like exactly how it happened, but I just got like little clips and visions in my mind of it. So anyways, once I got to this 7th and 8th grade, I started attracting friends who were already sexually active. So they like, great, it was this, it was that, and trying to provoke me to do it. And so I'm not the peer pressure type. I'm just not. If I'm going to do something, it's because I want to do it. So you could tell me all you want. I'm going to say, oh, okay, thanks. Okay, if I'm looking to, I'm looking to it. So I did want to have sex. I think the earliest I wanted to start was 14, but I didn't. I didn't lose my virginity until a few months before my 16th birthday. So I was 15 and a half. It was like March, and my birthday is in July. So when I did lose, before I lost my virginity, my father reached out to me we didn't have the best relationship. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even like him because I felt like he was taking his wife's side, and I didn't like that. I didn't get that. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to love you like never before type of vibe when I first got over there. I didn't because he didn't like my attitude. I didn't like his attitude, and I didn't like her attitude, and I didn't like her kids' attitude. So it was just like whatever. So anyways, and like I said, nobody understood me. Nobody really understood my story. So Lil Tierra, that was my name at the time, had a attitude problem, but they didn't know what was behind my attitude. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to express no other way. I was hurting, So anyways, so I tried to come to him and tell him I'm ready to lose my virginity. And when I told him at the time, I think I came to him at 14. And then when I came to him again, he put me on punishment. I never forget. He told me I couldn't go nowhere. I'm like, what? You told me to tell you. I tried to be honest, and this is what you do. You stab me in the back and try to put me on punishment. So now, I really got to see what's to this D now because he put me on punishment for it. I got to see what's to it. So I had a whole plan, and my sister was in on it. At the time, my sister was staying with her child's father. They had their own place. So I went to her like, look, I need you to back me up. I'm going to say I'm going to after school. At the time, I was a freshman, going into a sophomore year. I'm like, I need you to bag me up. And just say I was over here. I'm acting like I was there after school, and then I came over here after school. So that's what we had. So I don't remember how long it went on before they caught on, but one day I came from my first house, and I went to my sister's house. Tried to call her, she wasn't answering. So then when I got there, she tried to call me, but my phone died, so I couldn't, So when I got there to try to play it off, my father and his wife was there waiting for me. And when I walked in, I'm like, what the? So I'm looking at my sister like, what happened? So then she looking at me so eventually she told me she tried to give me a heads up. but my phone was dead. So anyways, they had met with the parent. They had me call him, so he put his mom on the phone, and we had to have a whole meetup. Drove all the way to the south side of Chicago to go meet this lady to tell her about how I was juicing her son after school. Parents do too much. But anyway, so boom, that was thrown in the trash. So then I was on punishment. Then when I did get a chance to get back out, he was kind of skeptical, but we still did what we did or whatever. So anyway, so boom, that was the beginning of that. So as years went on, I had this thing okay, so when I did start being sexually active, I thought my first was going to be my husband, because I wasn't getting into this sexual intercourse thing, hopping from nigga to nigga. That wasn't my plan. My plan was to actually be with this person for the rest of my life. But it didn't work out that way. So then it went from that person to that person to that person. It didn't work out. And I was young at 10, but I was expecting these dudes to settle down if I gave them my JJ. That's what I was anticipating. It didn't go that way. So whatever. I'm very clingy. I was very clingy. And when I do that, it ain't to be bounced around. Like, I'm trying to be with you, stay with you. You know what I'm saying? I never had a problem with being with one person. I don't like all them different niggas. So then I went through a stage where I did start dealing with different guys. And, I'm sorry. Show my looking for love in all the wrong places. I didn't know how to love. I thought I was loving. Not saying I wasn't, but I was just expressing my love wrong. I thought that sex was a way to express that I love a person. So I would use that. Then I went through this thing where I just started getting abusive. So I had a guy or two that I dealt with that I was abusive to. I started using those same tactics that I seen as I grew up and started applying it to my own relationships. And I'll never forget this one guy I was dealing with. I used to literally fight this dude. And he was the lame type. He wasn't the hood nigga like I was used to. He was a nice, sweet guy, but he just flirted too much. And I started literally beating on this dude. Every time I seen him smirk at a girl, he had hair. I used to be pulling his hair, punching him in the face. I'm talking about super abusive. And the last time that I abused him, at the time I was in Job Corps. So, okay, let me get into that. Let me finish this, and then I'll get into that. So, I was so upset at him because he didn't want to talk to me. He wouldn't, he literally had his head turned, ignoring me, and I was trying to talk it out. And he wasn't trying to hear it. And I never forget, I pulled his braids. He had braids to the back, cornrows. I grabbed his braids, and his hair was real long. And I literally yanked it up to the point where I pulled his hair out of the nape. And he had to cut his hair after that because it wouldn't grow no more. It wouldn't grow no more. I pulled his hair to the point, pulled it out to the point where it wouldn't even grow back there. So I did some stuff. When I tell you, I was so damaged, and I just wanted to hurt people back because I was hurting, didn't know how to express it. And my father tried to put me in counseling, and I used to tell a counselor, I don't need anger management. They just stopped even taking me because I used to be sitting up there looking why don't you tell me what's wrong with me since you're the counselor? And it was just bad. So anyways, I used to always get rolled up at school, kicked out of school, suspended, just trying to, I don't know. I was going through some stuff, trying to be somebody I wasn't. I ain't gonna lie. I was something else. I was. But at heart, I was so sweet. So sweet. But I had this exterior about me. so sweet and soft on the inside and just hard on the outside. Like, yeah, I'm about that life. But really, no, I wasn't, y'all. I was the sweetest little thing. Just like I said, just had this shield up because I was so used to being a protector over myself because of the things that I've been through and the things that I experienced. And like, I just didn't want to get hurt no more. So I just had this shield up or whatever. So, yeah. So anyways, okay, let me see what I left okay. So I used to get suspended a lot. I got kicked out of the charter school that I was going to in like 10th grade. Then I went to another high school where I caught my first case for hitting a teacher with a garbage can. And I went to jail. That was my first time going to jail. I was 17. And I don't remember if they charged me as an adult. I think they did charge me as an adult. But I was in that doggone lockup for about 12 hours. I'll never forget it. They gave me this thick bologna sandwich. The bologna was like this thick. I'm like, Lord, what is this? I don't never want to get locked up again. I was hungry, cold. The seats was hard, concrete. I'm like, this is not for me because I didn't like being in one spot for all that time. Steady asking her, what time is it? Did my fingerprints come back yet? What time is it? Can I leave now? It was ridiculous. So anyways, that was my first time. Then I ended up getting kicked out of that school, and that's when I went to Job Corps. Well, I met my ex that I was being abusive to at the time. And I used to be sneaking in the boys' dorm because I stayed on campus. I used to sneak in the boys' dorm to his room. And we used to be getting it on in the room. Getting it on. At the time, I was 18, so I was legal. But I used to be getting it on, so they couldn't call no parent. That's why I say that. They couldn't call my father or nobody because my father put me out the house at 18 because when I turned 18, this was after I called my first case, I'm like, listen, ain't no curfew, because he used to always try to, like, tell me to come in the house and, like, be controlling or whatever. I'm like, listen, I ain't coming in the house. I'm 18, and by law, they just said that 18 and older could be outside as late as they want to. So, like I said, I thought I could just do what I want to do. And I told him, I'm not coming in the house. I'm 18 and I'm grown. And then I never forget that night when I came in, he called himself trying to roughing me up, and I fought him back that night because I felt like I was 18. I'm grown. Don't put your hands on me. You shouldn't be putting your hands on me. Anyway, you're a man, father or not. And I tried to stab him. And at that point, he put me out and even tried to get me charged. But thank God it didn't stick. Like I said, me and him was like this. We're good now, though. I love you. We're good now. But we went through some things, like for real. So anyways, after that, when he put me out at 18, I went to Job Corps. Stayed there for about a year. Got put out of Job Corps. I had got my high school diploma before I got put out, though. And got a welder certification and all of that. But after I did what I did to my ex, when I pulled his braids up and all that, they put me out. Job Corps. And then from there, I went to go stay with she's my cousin, but I call her my godmother because she's in her 50s and she's been like a mother figure to me. We ain't like each other at first. It wasn't always like that, but this is somebody on my father's ex-wife side of the family. So the same wife that I've been talking about, but it's the step side of the family. And I just grew like this close relationship with her, love her dearly like a mother, would do anything for her. So I went to go stay with her. So fast forward. So this is just like a little background of me, because if I keep going, we had 38 minutes and 45 seconds. This video is going to be like 2 hours long, and I got to save stories for other times. But yeah, so that's pretty much the background of me and what I've been through. And like I said, I've never been into drinking or smoking. Never snuck around and done it. I have drunk something before, but it was given to me by an adult with other underage preteens, and they're like, hey y'all, it was New Year's, so hey, you want to taste this Bacardi? And it was like something like that. But other than that, I've never drunk before, never snuck and did it, never smoked, none of that. So let's just say from the ages of 13 and up, I've never done any type of drugs. So none of my adulthood, not no special occasion, none of that, no wine, none of that. I just choose not to do it. I just thank God for that, because that'd be an extra habit that I would have to get over. An extra habit that I would need to be delivered from. So, my main issues has always been sex and my temper, this mouth, and my way of thinking and stuff like that. So just thank God he ain't got too much he need to work on me with, or thank God I ain't got too much that I need to work towards fixing. So yeah, so anyways, that's just background on me. And so after Job Corps or whatever, I ended up getting my first place at the age of 20, going on 21. And no, was I 20? I was 19 going on 20. And that same cousin / godmother that I was speaking of, her sister allowed me to rent her apartment that she had at the time. It was a low income apartment. She let me rent it or stay there for about a year and a half. And then after that, that's when I got my own official first place. And I was like 20 or whatever. Yeah, I was 20. Yeah, I was 20, about 20 and a half. And I went and got my own place. And then ever since then, I had been staying on my own. And then when I got pregnant with my son, who is now 6, I ended up losing my place. And at the time I was, let me do the math. I was 25. Yeah, I was 25 when I got pregnant with him. Yeah, so from that time from 19 to 25 or 20, 25, I had my own place. And then I ended up having I was facing eviction. And then I ended up getting a lawyer and everything because I was pregnant. I'm like, I lost my job at the time and things like that. And they were able to come up with an agreement that if I was out by a certain date, that they'll drop the charges and it'll just be like a judgment that was settled. So I ended up having to move out December 24th. So Christmas Eve of 2013, I was 9 months pregnant with my son, due any day. I'm sorry, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my son, due any day. And I had to move back with my father. And when I tell y'all, I did not want to do that. I did not want to do that. I was like, what? I don't even really like dude. I still have my issues with him. I didn't really squash that, really get an understanding to it or whatever. Once he put me out and I went about my way, and I did come back there after Job Corps for a little while, but then when I seen the vibe, I knew I wasn't welcome there, and I had left. And that's when I had I stayed with a friend. And then from there I went to go stay in my cousin's place that she allowed me to stay in for about a year until I got my own place. And I was staying there alone. She wasn't there with me. I was just kind of she was low income, so it wasn't really like she was paying none anyway. So when I ended up moving out of my place when I was 8.5 months pregnant, I knew then once I moved back with my father, it was it was a humbling experience, and I say, because I did not want to do it. But I know that God placed me there to mend what was broken. Because me and my father did not have a good relationship. And I did not get out of that predicament until the relationship was somewhat fixed. So I was there until, again, I was 8.5 months pregnant. And I moved out when my son was I moved out when my son was 2. So I was there from 8.5 months pregnant to 2, till my son was 2 years old. So all that time I just was walking around with an attitude. I hate being here. One paying him nothing, giving him a little money here and there. Like, like he owed me something still. You my daddy. You should let me stay here for free anyway. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's my attitude that I had towards him. And I just stayed there. Wasn't nothing changing. I was like applying for a little apartments here and there and denied. And I'm like, come on, Lord, I'm trying to get out of here. I wanted to have my own place. You know what I'm saying? I want to play house. I wanted my baby daddy to come move in. That's another story. But anyways, I wanted to play house with my baby daddy. Like, I'm ready to get my own place. Like, I'm tired of having to ask him, can I have company? Like, what is this? I'm grown. Right? So anyways. So once I actually like put my pride aside and started being respectful towards him, started being mindful of him, and like, this is his place, not my place. Like, I had it all messed up. Like, I was trying to run his apartment. He like, and he didn't really speak up too much. I'm his daughter. He wasn't trying to step on my toes. So he was just kind of like sucking it up. You feel me? But this is his place. I'm gonna come run his place. So anyways, right before I had moved out, I had just so happened to apply for this apartment. The process was long, from like September up until I moved in. And let me tell you how I know this was God that organized the whole thing. It was God's timing, how it all happened. Because let me tell you something. The landlord was saying like she didn't know if the application was gonna get approved because of the judgment that I had from my last place, because it was only like 4 years, not even 4, maybe like 3.5 years since then. Judgments normally stay on your credit for like 5 to 7 years, or 5 to 10 years now, depending on the state. So I just had to explain to her, like, this is what happened. I was pregnant. I lost my job, blah, blah, blah. And I just basically was telling her, like, have faith in me. Like, I'm not going to not pay you your rent. Like, I'm telling you, like, that wasn't the case there. Like, I just went through some things and I was pregnant and I couldn't really get no other job because I was pregnant. I mean, I was working before my son was born, but the job that I had, it was kind of like I was driving buses. So it was like I was driving a school bus. So it was like, it worked out, but I wasn't really like making buku dollars. Like, the pay was decent, but not for what my rent was. Before I had lost my job, I was making good money. I was working as a collector at a collector agency. So anyways, so let me tell you how it was God's timing. So when I finally put my pride aside and started treating my father better and just being respectful, and once we started like mending that broken relationship, and we like kind of talked about it and talked it out, I ended up getting approved. And mind you, I lost my place when I was 8.5 months pregnant with my son. December 24th of 2013, I had to move out. I signed the lease and got my keys for my new place once my son was born, December 24th of 2016. Literally 3 years later, on the same date that I lost my last place. So don't tell me that ain't God. It was definitely God, and it was God's timing. And like, God is wonderful. And like, a lot of people do not believe in God and I don't see how, but I got some experiences and some stories where I could tell you, like, God is real. And there's nothing nobody can say to me. Like, I love him. Like, I love him, like, beyond measures. Like, I'm not always my best, but I love him for loving me and for forgiving me and just giving me chance after chance to get myself together, because he definitely is a God of mercy, of grace and mercy. So that's a little background on me. That was very long. This video is almost an hour. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of background on me. And kind of like why, if people kind of like on the outside looking in, like, why am I that way, or why was I that way growing up? And that's why it's way more detailed than that. But if I went deeper into it, this video will be way longer. And again, it'll be more times for that, more videos for that. So I'm on my computer and my phone is sitting on the laptop, like in the middle of the laptop. So if y'all see me looking off to the side, that's why. But I want to pull up a scripture that I searched pertaining to this, just like my circumstance as far as me coming up and the things that I've been through or whatever. Yeah, I used to know how to type fast. I don't know more. I mean, I can, but I don't really type that fast like I used to. Let me move this over so I can, see. Okay, so this is just, like I said, a scripture kind of relating to my circumstance and how God writes his promises in the Bible, and you got to apply it to your life. So this is out of Matthew chapter 6, verse 31 through 34, and it reads as follows. So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So, when I read that scripture, what made me bring that scripture up is basically like, we walk around, worrying ourselves every day because of the things that go on in the world and the circumstances that we face. But growing up as a child, even though I was just a child and there was nothing I could do anyway, God provided. He provided. We may didn't have the best things, but God provided. We may didn't have the best food, but God provided. And that's what I feel like the scripture, that's how it speaks to me. Like, don't worry about what you're going to drink or what you're going to wear. I'm going to provide you with the things that you need. You know what I mean? And he did just that. He did just that. And like I said, it wasn't the best. But even though we face some bad circumstances, like, it still was a way able to be made. And even as an adult, I've seen God do some miraculous things. Like, I be looking like, where did this come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? How did this happen? Like, this just came out of the sky. Like, that's how God works. He's a magnificent God. Like, he could do anything, all things, the impossible. Like, he's the master of doing the impossible. So, yeah. So just apply that scripture, apply that scripture to your life how you see fit. But, yeah. So this is my story. I have many more videos to come. God bless if you sat this far and watched the whole video. I appreciate the support. Like, comment, and subscribe. And any questions that you may have, again, go ahead and shoot me an email at whatshamegang20@gmail.com. And, feel free to, if you want to share testimony or, like I said, send any type of topics that you want me to talk about, feel free. I don't ever want y'all to think like this is going to be a channel where I'm going to be holier than thou. Like, I'm a work in progress just like you and anybody else. I'm not perfect, and we're a work in progress every single day. But I want to share these stories again so that I could just, look at me. Like, look at me. You would never think that I went through half the stuff that I went through. And that ain't even half of what I went through. Like, I just tried to sum it up in the video as much as possible to try to get you as much information as possible. But like, if I went into the depths of things, baby, please. Like I said, it'd be more videos for that. But like, man, love yourself. God loves you. I love you. I don't even know you, but I want the best for you. And you should always want the best for the next person. Give somebody the love of Christ today. And if you feel like somebody is not in the best mood, do the best you can to put a smile on their face, because you never know what a person is going through. And that's the reason why we're here, to be the light in somebody's darkness. We all need to be lifted up sometimes. And again, what shame gain? It's impossible for you to fully live in your purpose unless you kill the shame. God bless.